Again, Senate Bill 691. This is a bill that would fight organized retail crime. Now, that doesn't mean just stores that charge prices more than you want to pay. That's not organized retail crime. But the idea that there are crime rings who operate here and have done so and were not covered and have not been covered under our state's racketeering statute, that's a big deal. Let's talk about it today with a group that's very much in favor of what Michigan is putting forward here, and that's a group United to Safeguard America from Illegal Train, the USAIT. Their spokesperson is Matt Albance. He's former director of U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, in Washington. And Matt's on the other end of our line right now. Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning, Dave. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you being here. Tell us what organized retail crime is all about, and maybe most importantly, what it's not about as well. So maybe we can get a fairly narrow but accurate definition from you.
Sure. So organized retail crime is not a new phenomenon, but we've certainly seen, especially over the last 6 to 12 months, a lot of really public instances where you've seen these large-scale smash and grabs with large numbers of individuals going into stores, taking high-dollar goods and in large amounts and getting out of those facilities and then fencing them either on the street or now using e-commerce more than anything. But really what organized retail crime at its core is, it's an association of persons engaged in illegally or fraudulently obtaining retail merchandise, tender, and customer information for the sole purpose of converting it into financial gain. So it's generally well-coordinated, it's well-planned, and these are actually mature criminal organizations that are engaged in this type of activity because it takes a lot. There's planning, there's surveillance, there's picking targets, very specific targets that they're looking for because they know what goods are going to sell on the black market. It's a very sophisticated criminal activity. And, I applaud the state of Michigan and the Senate bill for coming forward to pass that out of committee. I think the support from the Attorney General Nessel is crucial to that. And I think it's good to see. It should be a bipartisan issue as it is there in Michigan.
I saw some videos on this before done by a freelance journalist in San Francisco who said, yeah, this is a real thing, but part of the problem is that we were tying the hands of police in terms of their ability to arrest and then offer up, for the prosecutor to proffer charges on these in the city and county of San Francisco. Has that been common, or is this just a problem with the law that needs to be addressed? There's plenty of law enforcement ready to go and do their job, or is it a combination of both?
I think a lot of what you face is that the penalties that go with these crimes and how they have to be charged, that's either a straight theft or something along those lines, don't necessarily carry the weight that something more substantial like you're doing there in Michigan or trying to do with regard to making it a racketeering crime. That allows prosecutors to bring a much heavier hammer down on these criminal organizations, and that's the key, right? As long as it continues to be a low-risk, high-reward crime, you're going to get more of it. But if you can crack down on it and actually give meaningful sentences that deter people from engaging in this activity, then you have a really good chance of making a dent into the problem.
The list of people who have signed on here, not just the Attorney General, but you've got the Michigan Retailers Association, Chiefs of Police, the Police Officers Association here, so the police and the police union, the Michigan Chamber. The list goes on and on. The only people who would seem to not be in favor of this are what the groups who are going out and committing crimes in an organized manner. That's about it, right?
Yes. I mean, look, this is good, sound public policy. It's good, sound use of police and prosecutorial resources. The losses to retail organizations can be more than $100 billion annually.
Yep.
And again, it's not just the losses to those retailers, but there's tax revenue that comes from these sales that, when they're done legitimately, that go back into the communities for schools, for police, for public works, all those things that are deprived of the tax revenue when large-scale theft such as this occurs.
I saw a woman when one of these was happening at a store. Somebody else had video, and this older woman was screaming at these people who were going out, with their basic loot. She said, "You're why we have to pay more." That is partially true, isn't it? you're the people causing us to have to pay more.
Well, certainly, because the company or the stores or the retail outlets are losing money themselves. In order for them to remain in business, they're going to need to raise their prices to allow them to be a profitable enterprise. And ultimately, that comes back on you, me, and everybody else that has to purchase those goods themselves. And in a time when we've got massive inflation, having additional artificially created situations, because that's what these are. These don't need to be this way. If we do sound policy, pass good laws, we can reduce the instances of these crimes, and that will help keep prices down.
Matt Albance is with USA-IT, that's United Safeguard America, from illegal trade. Is our state now, are we ahead of the curve getting after this and making sure it's covered under statute? Are we behind the curve, or are we kind of like in the middle with other states? Michigan always tends to be like right in the middle. We're ranked 24th or 25th, so we can't get too excited or too angry. But where do we rank here in terms of state by state?
Well, you're certainly not the first to try to pass some laws to provide greater authority to the police and the prosecution authorities, but you're certainly not the last either. And you're actually, I say, you should be applauded and congratulated for moving forward in this manner to counteract this problem as quickly as possible. So I would say you're moving in the right direction, and hopefully this gets passed fully and it becomes law.
Again, it seems like something that would have a lot of bipartisan support. And I don't see, the only group here too, and maybe to do more working over on the Prosecutors Association, but they're not on the list. But PAM here in Michigan, Prosecuting Attorneys of Michigan. But we'll see because it's still in formation here. Senate Bill 691. This has been supported even by the Attorney General, Dana Nessel. And today our guest here from United Safeguard America Against Illegal Trade is former Director of ICE, Matt Albance. Matt, I appreciate you coming on for a few minutes today. Take care, stay safe, and thanks for giving us the 411 on your side of this issue.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate you having me, and happy to come back anytime.
Thank you, sir. Much obliged. So I think it's interesting. Again, I would have just assumed, and I was wrong, I would assume that we've got something under statute here that expands and covers. Apparently that's not so. But you've seen the stories on this, no doubt. You've seen videos of these smash and grabs, and some of them quite shocking and brazen in how they're carried out. I think the word brazen is the word. I mean, people who shoplift, and they, the traditional shoplifter and maybe a large coat just try to tuck this in, sneak out. No, that's not what goes. They're not worried about it. There's a bunch of people working it together. They know what they're going after. They know what to grab. They're out. They're gone, and that's on the black market. Now, you buying on the black market, you might save a buck or two. But what about the rest of the people who go and do it the right way to buy in the store? Prices go up. So are you going to let it go? Well, no one's really getting hurt. It's a victimless crime. That's not true. And who's going to define that? A victimless crime. Who gets to say, I'm going to decide what a victimless crime is, and I'm going to decide what a victim crime is? Is it you or you or you? Well, they're just stores, Oh, okay. So that makes it all right. This isn't Jean Valjean in Les Mis stealing a loaf of bread for his family to stay alive. That's not what we're talking about here. Okay? The people who spin it that way, I have no idea which direction they're going, other than signaling to some other group that they're cool. But it's not cool. It's criminal, and it's not to be tolerated, is it? All right. But will the prosecutors weigh in on this? Because I think there might be some, not everybody will be in complete concurrence. We'll be back in the morning wake up here in a couple of minutes. We're going to visit with Jessica Rosenthal. Don't go away.